Do you know what would be cool? To photograph a partial solar eclipse. Very close to where I live because there just happened to be one passing over Ireland a few days ago. So, without having any of the proper gear, I decided to head out and make the most of it. So if we're going to go out and photograph a solar eclipse or the sun in general, particularly with really big high magnification telephoto lenses, you really do need the proper filters. Mostly for the camera to protect the sensor and to protect your eyes from getting a big black spot burned into them. Unfortunately, when it came to the Eclipse, I didn't have either of those things. Mostly because all of them had sold out weeks in advance and I'd completely forgotten about the Eclipse and didn't plan for it, therefore I didn't order anything in time. So I had to kind of just make do with what I could get and do everything in a way that would cause me to blow up my camera and burn out my eyeballs according to all the articles I read. So in order to take this shot I did need some kind of filter, because if you take a 500mm lens and point it at the sun, you're going to damage the lens and the camera. So I absolutely needed some kind of filter, and the only one I could find in stock was a square ND32000 from K&F Concepts. So in order for this filter to be any way suitable at all, it had to have infrared blocking capabilities, because if the filter only blocked visible light, which is something a lot of ND filters do, but wasn't blocking infrared light, well, the infrared light would pass straight through the filter and would cause the same damage in the camera as the visible light. So I tested this by taking my full spectrum ZR, I put an in-body infrared filter in the camera, and then I went outside on a really sunny day and I checked the exposure the camera was giving me with and without the new filter. And I found out that this filter was in fact blocking infrared light at about the same amount as visible light. Therefore this should be safe to photograph the sun. Maybe. But also working with me was the fact that the solar eclipse was actually due to happen quite late in the day when the sun will be a lot lower in the sky. And that means it would have a lot more atmosphere that the light has to travel through, which would attenuate a lot of the harshness of the sun and would maybe let me get away with this filter. Photographing this in Dublin was also a big help, because in the evenings here at this time of year there is a lot of cloud cover that tends to appear around the horizon, which I was hoping would help attenuate the sun a little bit more and would let me get away with using this non-official solar filter. And all I had to do was pack up my gear and head out to the park with half of Dublin City apparently and photograph this eclipse. So tomorrow at about 7 o'clock in the evening there is a solar eclipse happening, and that means I need to do some preparations, but unfortunately I left things a little late and well, to put it simply, the entire country is sold out of solar filters and glasses and everything. This means I'm going to have to do a little bit of jury rigging. Now I do want to do some really nice solar pictures of Totality and coming into Totality and that, but to do that you need a solar filter of some description to prevent you destroying your camera. And the camera I'm going to be using is my D850 because it will give me the same image quality as my Z8, but if I burn out the sensor on this it's less of an issue because this is a grey market import and there's like issues with this camera. So if I do burn it out, you know, it's bad, it's real bad, but it's not catastrophic. I'm not, you know, destroying my very expensive Z8. The only issue with this filter is that I can't use it like this. I have to mount it inside one of these case frames so that it fits into my armor magnetic system. So let's do that. And it's a Torx bit, which is the greatest bit ever created. Also, these frames come with 2 spare screws, which is really nice because these are small enough to get absorbed into your skin. I spent a long time looking for different filters and square filter options, and this case armor magnetic system is by far, and I mean by far, the best one I've ever used. One of the reasons I also like this case magnetic filter system is because it goes up to 95mm, and that is important because this is the lens I'm going to be shooting the eclipse on. It is the Nikkor 200-500mm f5.6, and the reason I picked this lens, apart from its excellent image quality, VR, and the fact that it reaches 500mm, is because this lens is very cheap now on the used market. These can be had used in Tokyo for like €500 at this point. So if I do cause severe damage to the lens and burn out the aperture blades or somehow set the lens on fire by pointing it straight at the sun, at the very least it's going to be cheap to replace, although I probably won't. I'll just stick to telephoto primes from now on. But if I do burn it out, it's not the biggest deal in the world. At least I'm not burning out my 400mm 2.8. That thing is still hideously expensive to buy. Got tape over the viewfinder, but I'm going to keep the viewfinder curtain open because that could get damaged if things go wrong. So I've got the this is my lens cap for the square filter. It just has a little bit of a lip there, 3D printed, so I'll hang over and cover it up until I'm ready to take the actual pictures. You'd swear there's some event on. Should be very spectacular.
Yeah, that's it.
I remember the last one when I was 8.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, the thing's happening, and it was really cool and all that. I remember it so clearly. And it's like, oh, the next one won't be till 20 whatever. And I said, oh, that's 5 million years away.
Decades away.
And now it's happening. It's that powerful. So I'm using a special ultra dark filter. I tested it. It should be okay, but I have a piece of plastic over it just to keep it covered when I'm not using it, just to be safe. So I have it on the live. I have this taped over in case so I don't look through it by accident and blind myself.
I know, exactly. It'd be grand.
But after the US eclipse a few years ago, it was a huge one across the US. The biggest Google search term after it was why are my eyes sore, or why do my eyes hurt?
Oh, that's hilarious, honestly.
You can get something called arc flash or arc eye, where if you're welding without protection, it basically burns, blisters your eye, and it's like you have permanent sand in your eyes for weeks.
Oh, God.
And then the worst is that if you look at it with binoculars or something, it just burns your eyes out, and you have a dark spot in your vision forever. Because this acts as like a telescope, I actually have this over the lens, over the viewfinder, just in case I look through it by accident on instinct.
Can I have a look?
Yeah, I have it on the screen here, you see.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Definitely go down a filter. Yeah, I think that might be it. That's Totality.
That's Totality right now. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's dipping. Yeah, it's coming back.
How do you mean?
You can feel that the light's starting to pick up again.
Yeah,
It's getting brighter again.
Yeah, it's turned the corner.
Hold on. That was quite cool. So the clouds are like whirling around the sun now, and I actually think it looks better like this after Totality because it's still half covered and it looks good. Just uncover the camera. You're very nearly finished now. And put this back on. Okay, I think it's time to call it. Bye. Yay. Traffic. Let's check if the gear survived. So, and looking in there, yep, absolutely no marks or issues on the aperture in there. So that's good. Also the D850, there's a big speck of dust in there, which I need to get rid of. But there's no burn marks or anything like that at all. So I didn't damage my camera, which is good. So all the gear survived being pointed straight at the sun. So that was a fun little evening photographing the eclipse, and best of all, I didn't damage any of my gear. All my bets on this slightly unofficial filter paid off, and I was able to get my pictures. As for the pictures themselves, my favourite ones by far are actually the ones after the totality moment when the clouds came in. So you got this really cool like crescent sun shape shining through the clouds, and I think they looked really, really cool, and I'm actually super happy with them. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. You get some photos that you're happy with and possibly get to make a YouTube video out of it, which unfortunately is ending. So I'll see you in the next one. My computer just turned back on. I said shut down. Fucking Windows, oh my god. It's doing this thing now lately where like you shut it down and it just restarts because Windows is such a vibe coded pile of crap now. Windows rant over. That's going in the outtakes.